A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media. Sorry for my scratchy voice. Now, I'm a huge fan of horror fiction when it is done right and also when it's done wrong. It's just fun. So today I am actually bringing you a book by an author whose first novel of his that I read I didn't actually enjoy. That was Max Brooks, the author of World War Z. I didn't enjoy the film either, but for completely different reasons. Now, when I heard he was writing a new book, I was initially skeptical. Like, if I didn't like World War Z, I'm probably not going to like his new book. But then I read the premise and just had to buy it. That book is Devolution. Survive, Adapt, Kill is written on the front. And we have David Sedaris called it masterful, John Malaman, phenomenal, and Blake Crouch, one of the greatest horror novels I have ever read. Who is Blake Crouch? I don't know. Who is Josh Malaman? I don't know. David Sedaris, an incredibly talented writer. Now, this book is very, very interesting in as much as the tone of it changes very, very quickly. And there are a lot of things to talk about, so I'm just going to get straight into this next episode of... Okay, to get straight into it, the way that this book is written really fascinated me. This book is epistolary fiction, which, for those of you that don't know and are wondering why the fuck I'm throwing big words out there, it's basically the story is written as a series of journal entries from the main character. Most of it is journal entries from the main character, which is a very fun way to write. I actually used that style of fiction, epistolary fiction, in my honours thesis back when I was at Western Sydney University. Now, what is the story? Let's get started right there. The crux of the story is an author is kind of trying to find the truth of the disappearance of a woman who is the sister of a man that he is talking to at the beginning of the book. The sister's name is Katie. Now, the man, I believe his name is Floyd, if I remember rightly. Let me just check that. Floyd Frank. Starts with an F. Introduction. Kate. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, he once belonged to a community called Green Loop, which is kind of like a group of people who are living in an environmentally friendly commune, so to speak, that is still very technologically advanced, so they can all work away from home and things like that, but they just want to be closer to the environment, closer to nature. He used to live there with his husband. They have since left and split, and so he offers his house to his sister and her husband, and so they move from Seattle to Green Loop, which is in the forest and at the base, or near, I should say, an active volcano. When the couple get to Green Loop, that's when the journal articles kind of start up. When the couple get to Green Loop, and we start to meet all of the other characters there. We meet the two people that lead the community, that kind of created this community. We meet an eccentric woman from Eastern Europe, a lesbian couple with a young daughter that they have adopted, and another couple where the husband has cancer that's gone into remission, and so they are trying to kind of live a more eco-friendly vegan lifestyle. And so we get to meet all of these characters, and everything is told through either Katie's journal articles or through the authors of the book inside the book, his interviews with Katie's brother and one of the park rangers, as well as snippets of like radio interviews and things like that that are scattered all through the book. Ultimately, what happens is the volcano erupts, cutting off Green Loop from the rest of the other towns in the vicinity, and rescuers can't get there, so we get a survival story. But it's kind of not a survival story because, and I'm not going to spoil anything because you can tell from the cover what this is going to be about. The volcano has basically dislodged a tribe of Sasquatch or Bigfoot creatures which stumble upon Green Loop and all fucking hell breaks loose. Now, remember, we primarily get this from Katie's point of view. So that means as the journals progress, we get to see her evolve more as a character. We see her husband evolve as a character. However, unfortunately, that means we don't really get to see the other characters' evolutions except through Katie's eyes, which isn't always necessarily true, but that is the fun of reading forms of epistolary fiction. Books that are primarily letters, journals, emails, things like that, where you are getting a singular point of view, and it's up to us to extrapolate the information from that, which made this book a hell of a lot of fun. So yes, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I think it is an absolutely wonderful novel. Very slow at the beginning. It's a slow burn, which leads up to like an absolutely brutal last 80 pages or so, with a fantastic ending as well, which I am not actually going to give away because I urge anyone who wants to please go out and read this book. Now, why did I enjoy it so much? Well, first of all, the notion of Sasquatch. I mean, you haven't seen a scary Sasquatch since Harry and the Hendersons. That's a joke. That movie's fucking delightful. TV show, not so much. But the primary thing with Max Brooks, especially in Devolution, is the historical accuracy. The historical accuracy that went into this book is absolutely insane. At the beginning of each chapter, we get a little snippet, you can see there, of a quote or something from a book. They start out philosophical, and then we get to a little bit longer ones. Let me just find... Okay, so for example, all animals are competitive by nature and cooperate only under specific circumstances and for specific reasons, not because of a desire to be nice to one another. Franz de Waal, Bonobo, the Forgotten Ape. Okay, fair enough. Now, any author can make up stuff like this, but these are all actual books that you can actually go and find. The one that impressed me the most was, if I can find it, because this actually blew my mind. Okay, so there's a huge one here. I'm not going to read it all out. You can see it's really long. And this details really one of the first recorded Bigfoot attacks way back in the 1920s, or maybe even a little bit earlier than that. It came from apparently a book written by President Theodore Roosevelt called The Wilderness Hunter. I'm like, what? President Roosevelt in 1928 wrote a book called The Wilderness Hunter, where he talks about his journey around America, big game hunting and hunting for sport and killing animals. And this story is in that book. I had no freaking idea. This is like when I found out one of the earliest recorded writings about werewolves was in the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's little things like that strewn through this book that make it realistic. And that's the key to this. I mean, I know you're dealing with a tribe of Sasquatch attacking an environmentally friendly town, and the people in the community have to fight them off, and how are they going to do that and whatnot. But there's a realism to this book that makes you wonder, could it actually happen? It reminded me of the advertisements before the Blair Witch Project came out, where you didn't know, is this real? Is this not real? Until you actually sat down and saw the film. An unbelievably superb horror novel that I cannot recommend enough. Was there some flaws to this? Yes. Of course there was. You don't actually know if the main character is going to survive, because the journal itself was read initially by a park ranger who gave it to the person who's writing the book within the book. That changes very quickly towards the end of the novel, where you start to realize, you know, perhaps this wasn't the best way to present this part of the story. Ultimately, your perceptions are wrong, okay? But there is still a little bit of doubt as to whether or not that is going to work. And when you have a book like this and you start to doubt how the ending is going to play out, or if it's even going to play out properly, that's not a good thing. The second problem I have with this is there are two characters in this book, Yvette and Tony. They are the ones that started Greenloop. They are the ones that kind of control, not really control everything, but they're the leaders. There is something a little bit off about their relationship, but it's never fully explored. And that's an aspect that I really wanted to kind of learn more about, but we never actually got that far to find out about those two characters in particular. Because Katie, the main character, whose husband is a bit of a fucking deadbeat, but that's quite a good redemption story arc, by the way. Katie has a bit of a thing for Tony. She's like a little bit infatuated with him and whatnot. And so I wanted to see more about those characters. But again, I understand we are seeing the story through the point of view of Katie, so it is inevitable that that is probably not going to happen. All of the technology that they describe in the book is feasible. I looked it up when I finished reading it because I just wanted to know if it was bullshitty made up. No, clearly not. Hence adding to the realism, which I thought was pretty cool, but at the same time, the community itself just, I don't know, it didn't really feel like a community for a lot of the book. The descriptions of the creatures, the Sasquatch, it's good. Could have been a little bit better. However, I know it's Katie's point of view. We're seeing these creatures how she is seeing the creatures. So these are little tiny nitpicky things, but don't let them distract you from reading this. This book is phenomenal. I would easily put this in top 10 horror novels of all time. It might sneak into top 20 novels of all time as well. That's Max Brooks' Devolution. Read it. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all the stuff. You know what it is. Follow us on Plaguelands Media. Check out the ending. We're all around. Most importantly, though, stay safe. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And please read a fucking book.